Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ABBYY Partner Update. My name is Bill Galusha, the Vice President of Product Marketing for our Intelligent Document Processing Products and Solutions. I'm joined by Maxine Vermeer, who's our Senior Director of the Product Ecosystem and Engagement. We're excited to talk to you about the latest Vantage 2.2 release, a release that we introduced just recently, last quarter. It's packed with a lot of new capabilities, and we'd like to focus on some of those capabilities in terms of what it means to the outcomes that businesses are trying to achieve, and in terms of the value that they can ultimately deliver. Maxine's going to talk a little bit about the marketplace. We just got done doing an update to the marketplace, as well as there's many new assets that have been introduced over the course of the last few months that we want to highlight in this partner update. Before I get into the 2.2 release, I'd like to focus just a little bit on kind of what's going on with the market around intelligent document processing. This is probably one of the most hottest markets right now in terms of automation. The other markets certainly being around process mining, process discovery. So both these markets are equally important, and both markets are ones where we focus on delivering high value products and solutions in the form of Timeline and Vantage today. But when you look at the IDP market specifically, it really is a new set of buyers within enterprise companies that are looking for really a new change, a new next generation platform when it comes to intelligent document processing. In the last 12 months, the analyst coverage has significantly grown. You can see kind of a quote here on screen from Gartner, which is from a report that they put out back in September of last year. And they've recently done a market guide report on intelligent document processing. Generally speaking, the market guide is then followed by a Magic Quadrant report, which it's possible that Gartner will put out that type of report later this year. But the coverage is growing significantly, which is good. The analysts recognize the growth potential within this market, and the value that the products and the solutions that companies like ABBYY are delivering to customers. What that has brought is a lot of new competitors within the market. There's dozens of new competitors, some of which you may have not heard of or ran into. But certainly there are some other competitors that we're seeing more often in competitive deals that you need to be aware of. And I'll talk about a few of those here in a second. The other thing that we've seen is just in the last 18 months is really customers who've invested in other automation tools where the automation tool provides some basic capabilities around document AI or document understanding. These particular customers are certainly looking for alternative solutions to what they've already invested in. So to kind of sum up in terms of where we are with the market and kind of what's driving our strategy is really the market today is very highly fragmented, and it will likely remain that way for the next couple of years. The capabilities in terms of what a vendor like ABBYY can offer to understand content, and be able to automate the process flow, not just within documents, in the document process flow, but how we intersect and connect with all types of different automation tools and processes is critically important. So when you look at kind of the competitive landscape, as I mentioned, you're going to find a lot of different competitors. Some of these names, many of you are likely very familiar with. Certainly the companies like Kofax and Hyperscience stand out. And that's really where, when you look at Gartner and this data that we've pulled from the latest IDP market guide report, certainly they see ABBYY as one of the leaders within the IDP market. And there are some other legacy providers that you would be aware of as well. But the other set of competitors that you really need to be looking at are kind of some of these AI vendors that have emerged in the last few years. These are new startup companies, relatively young companies, typically well-funded in terms of what where they are in terms of their business. And they will come out at you with very nice, looking types of products. The key is that these products tend to be limited in terms of functionalities, features, and functions. It lacks areas where we've really expanded, which is around the ecosystem, building out our ABBYY marketplace with lots of new skills, assets, connectors. So that really counters, what they've brought to market thus far. The other thing is Vantage is the competitive product here. Certainly, you can continue selling Flexi Capture, but when there's an opportunity to push and sell Vantage, and that product fits the needs, the requirements of the customer, then that is the product you should be introducing. And secondly, you should always be introducing Vantage into the conversation to kind of lead the discussion in terms of where the company is headed, where we're making investments into the technology, making it much easier to consume, use, and really use across any type of automation system, automation tool, or process. So again, there's lots of competitors. Some are very specialized. Some are more focused on specific point solutions. You'll find competitors that it might be fairly strong in cases around, say, finance and accounting, but are weaker around other areas of other industries and other use cases. So the trends it really is a race to add AI features. As we've talked about in the past, Vantage very much is built around understanding documents using machine learning and other ABBYY technology to be able to facilitate the creation of models or skills, as we call them, within the product. And the ecosystem is very important. We'll talk more about this in terms of the marketplace, but you'll see we've introduced several new connectors that ABBYY has built and certified. But partners play a critical part in terms of being able to expand and extend the platform of Vantage into and other areas of the business that require integration with different systems. So that is the one thing I do encourage our partners to look at, is if there's systems that you're integrating with, think about how you can build these connectors into Vantage, promote them within the marketplace, because ultimately that becomes a key differentiator. Integration is an absolute must, and can be a barrier to success if we don't have those integrations. So it is an area that we will continue to invest, but ultimately we also need partners to build out connectors and deliver on those high value solutions as well. So the last thing in terms of just the market, give you an update. I just wanted to share one of the reports that came out earlier this year, and that's from the Everest Group. We participated in this IDP report, Products Peak Matrix report, for the past 3 years. All 3 years, we've been noted as and identified as a leader. This time around, this is the best showing in the report out of all 3 years, and clearly this is where we believe we should have been in the last 2 years as well. So you can see we're certainly leading in terms of vision and capabilities. This is based around our experience and expertise, and certainly our customer base. But I will also say that Vantage played a very key role in terms of our position within this report. So when you think about who's leading the market, it's definitely ABBYY with our vision and our capabilities around a no-code, low-code platform that Vantage provides, as well as the marketplace, where we deliver all the assets and skills to customers as well. So this report is available on ABBYY.com. So it is publicly available. You can download a copy of it. It should also be available in the partner portal. But it is something that I would leverage as often as you can. There are a couple of other reports too, in terms of leadership positions that we've achieved. So ISG is another report that's up on the ABBYY.com website, and certainly you can download and use that report as well. So let's dive into just kind of what's new in 2.2. So with 2.2, it's a significant release. So if we kind of back up, rewind the clock here, we did a 2.0 release back in August, which was really the first release of this next generation platform. We introduced 2.1 at the end of last year, which had a significant number of capabilities. And then 2.2 fills some of the technical gaps or areas where we've noted a big investment was being made into Vantage. So the first thing you'll see here is just the ability to handle more types of text, specifically handwritten text, as well as dealing with complex images. So the thing that you'll see with how we're handling images within Vantage, we try to hide a lot of the complexity and basically allow the software to identify and manipulate the images according to the most appropriate type settings that give us the optimal accuracy rate in terms of extraction. There's new AI-powered document skills. I'll touch on some of those. Deep learning training is something that we've introduced into the advanced designer. And then the data warehouse is extremely important because this is really the first step in terms of building out a warehouse that contains all the process data, so all the transactional data. And additionally, quality analytics data will be added to this warehouse. And what that means is that within the IDP process, the document process, operational users can monitor and optimize the process, tie it directly into the timeline, pull in data from other sources. So ultimately, this begins to bring the story together between timeline and Vantage in the form of actual product integration. So this is really the first step in that. So I'm going to dive in to specifically just these features and highlight. So intelligent, extraction of data of handwritten text. So handwritten text is actually a topic that comes up quite a bit in conversation, and it usually is, and I'll say kind of the 80-20 rule. If you're doing, say, for example, this U.S. government form, a W-9, most of the time it is machine printed text. Someone fills it online, prints the PDF, or saves the PDF and attaches it to an email. But there are the 20% of the cases where someone handwrites it. So with the handwriting recognition, it can handle free-form text here, as you can see. It can extract data that's written into boxes, and it does it extremely well. This isn't just a rehash of handwritten technology we've had in Flexi Capture in the past. It's actually includes advancements in terms of the handwritten technology. It is included in the product, so this is not a additional fee, which is good. This isn't something that should be charged extra. It should just work out of the box. And it also does detect the difference between handwritten and machine printed. So there's different ways you can set it to auto detect. If it's handwritten text, then it applies the appropriate recognition versus if it's machine printed text. So that really gives you, I think, the 80-20 rule. It gives us 100% coverage. What this really does is it removes that objection from a customer that says, oh, well, what are we going to do with the 20% of documents that still have handwritten text? Now we've removed that objection, and we move forward in terms of automation in trying to achieve as much straight through processing and automation for the customer. The other big advancement that we made in this release is really specific to identity documents. So this is something that we've been talking about for a while now in terms of building out a skill specifically for ID documents. There are other competitors in the market that have models or trained models that they've built specific for some types of documents. But the first thing that should jump out at you right here is there's no competitor out there within the IDP market that supports more than 10,000 documents from 248 countries. So that is driver's license, it's passports, it's medical cards, it's social security cards, it's insurance cards. The list goes on and on. There's quite a list of documents that can be applicable to all industries and use cases. But I would say probably the biggest industry and use case is around customer onboarding or verifying the identity of an individual as part of a process to detect things like fraud or identify who the individual that's making a request. There's several opportunities we have today in the pipeline that are focused specifically around banking, and they tend to be significantly large in the hundreds of thousands to several million documents that a company would want to process. So this really drives higher value solutions for the customer across different industries, use cases. It is in controlled release. but you can request a trial license of this. So if you go to the marketplace.abby.com, you'll find that the ID skill is an asset up there. There's 2 documents out there. One is the documentation on how to set up the ID skill. The other one gives you a list of all the 10,000 documents it supports. So if you have any question about, well, does it support a particular document in a specific country, that's where you're going to find it in that document. You can also contact your partner manager as well. So if you have an opportunity, please contact them so that we can either get you a trial of the Vantage or add a trial license for the ID skill specifically to your Vantage tenant. So the other thing I mentioned today, it's only available in the ABBYY Cloud. We'll have more information about it being available on premise in the next month. So stay tuned for an update and communication around that. So now that's great. It's an ID skill. That's certainly one of the building blocks that we see to say onboarding customers to kind of boost customer satisfaction and streamline the process. But imagine combining the ID skill with other trained skills in the marketplace. So I call it the proof of. So, if you're onboarding a customer or a customer's applying for a loan or a line of credit, there's several documents that have to be captured at the point initiation. And that's the ID is the first document. So capturing the front of the ID, the back of the ID, it does read the back, the MRZ or other types of barcodes on the back. It does have rules built in as well. You can modify and customize those rules within the ID skill. But the other documents are like proof of employment, proof of residency, proof of what your salary is. And all those skills today are in the marketplace right now. So for specific countries, you might have to create other, expand those skills into other languages, but certainly that is a quick path forward. And really what we're trying to do is build out the building blocks to higher value solutions. And one of those key areas that we're focused on is really around customer onboarding. The other area that we have advanced is really the core technology. So think of all the research and development ABBYY does. By far, we have one of the largest research and development teams focused on just the core technology. Machine learning was introduced as part of the initial release of Vantage, is what we call fast machine learning. And that's what everyone's probably seen in demonstrations where we drop a document or two into the skill designer, we label a few fields, and we click the train button, and magically you have created a skill that is now able to extract data from just based on a couple documents. This uses a very quick and easy way of clustering documents into documents that have similarities visually and textually, and it specifically creates these models for each cluster. So the benefit is that this is really fast. A fast way to get a project or a skill trained into production, and that's really the attractive part to kind of this the whole no code low code approach and how fast you can build out a skill within Vantage. Now with deep learning, and this is really gets to training of the neural networks and that's how we've typically built the skills within Vantage. And the invoice skill is a perfect example, but there's other skills that are production ready that use this technology. But essentially, we're exposing it as an activity within the advanced designer, but it does require a larger training set because that's the way the technology works. But the benefit is it generalizes a learned pattern so that you can deal with many layouts based upon one model. So while it takes longer time to process, requires high CPU capacity for training, it does work extremely well in terms of creating a generalized model. So this is a new activity in the Advanced Designer in 2.2. Some of the other activities like around NLP have been enhanced as well. So you'll see that there's a bunch of new activities within the Advanced Designer that a partner can take and really create a skill and optimize it for the documents at hand. The other area really is down the data warehouse. So the data warehouse, as I mentioned, is we've built the plumbing to capture all the process transactional data, as well as in the future, all the quality analytics data. This is really, really important because we see the intelligent automation market kind of converging around content and data and process. And both of those areas are key strengths in leadership positions for ABBYY within the market. So ultimately, we have two of the best products, most sought after products, Timeline and Vantage, to address what customers are looking to do. So Timeline from a process discovery, process mining, but then document processing with Vantage. Now the ability to take all that process data that's collected at runtime within Vantage and actually feed that into Timeline. And that comes via the data warehouse that can be either downloaded, simply pulling the data out through a CSV file, or it can be using the API that exists where you could actually build a front end to actually pull that data out. We actually will build the connector into Timeline, but you can demonstrate this today. We demonstrate it quite a bit on sales opportunities, and I encourage you to kind of weave this all into your message and your conversation that you're having with customers. So essentially, you're analyzing and monitoring the process execution, so you can identify potential bottlenecks, documents that are causing problems, low accuracy, things like that. All of that kind of feeds into the data warehouse that can feed into Timeline, or it could be fed into other types of BI reporting tools that a customer may be using today. So another real key capability, core capability that I think strengthens the kind of the intelligent automation message that we have around transforming a business. The other thing is really the building blocks, and this is, as I often say, Vantage is the platform, but the platform is nothing without the actual building blocks and solutions, and that's really what we'll continue to build with the assets and skills that are in the marketplace. Several of these skills that you see up here, like the remittance skill, utility skill, personal earnings statement, bank statement, these are all skills that we've upped from just a framework skill to now a production skill. I'll talk a little bit about the licensing and pricing, but these skills are meant to work right out of the box, allow the customer to quickly train them further on their documents. And then you can see there's some other skills noted here as well. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is just automate more. And as I mentioned, it's about the data and the documents that is driving a lot of the automation initiatives today within enterprise organizations. So whether it's using the remittance advice skill to do accounts receivable, or using the utility bill and personal earnings statement for new account opening or onboarding, or bank statements from a lending standpoint, all these skills, and you add in all the other assets, connectors that ABBYY provides, or connectors that partners provide, are really the gateway to automating more in a faster and more productive way. So what does that mean in terms of, to ABBYY and to all of you as partners, is that what we're trying to build for is build from the platform to the marketplace to solutions that partners and ABBYY can deliver. And ultimately, what you're going to find is, as you go farther upstream in the discussion in terms of the outcomes and the value that you can deliver to a customer, is the deal sizes go up. You can certainly sell a license of the platform and ignore all the assets that are in the marketplace. But as we build out skills, essentially customers are going to be paying more for those skills that are pre-trained, ready to go, and utilizing them as part of a solution that they're trying to build towards. So this is really, one of the key differentiators that we have in the market today. A lot of these AI vendors that are focused around content, documents, and data don't have the same experience or ability to just kind of deliver on these high value solutions. So the last thing I'll talk about is just the platform and skill licensing. We've made some improvements here to simplify it. There's more details on all of this in the sales enablement presentation that is in the partner portal. But I just want to cover this one slide to kind of reinforce some changes we made to the licensing. So first off, the platform itself, you can see all the capabilities are bundled all together. So that's the first thing. It's all included within the license. The first type of license that you can sell within Vantage is what we call a core cognitive skill license. So that covers the ability to use any of the framework skills in the marketplace, and you'll see that in the marketplace, it'll say framework skill, or for a customer to build a skill from scratch. That is all covered by this core cognitive skill license. So that covers OCR, classification, extraction. You can build a process, and essentially there's an annual page volume for skills that the customer builds or any of the framework skills that they might download, make a copy of, and further train or edit. So that's the core skill license. A separate license is there's one for OCR. Now, this is very specific just to OCR. You will find that there's an OCR skill that can digitize, ingest documents, digitize the text, and output it in specific formats. The skill is really intended for someone who's just doing OCR. Now, if you want to do OCR and you don't want to sell them just the OCR skill, it is covered in the core license as well. So there is a way to build out a process which encompasses OCR as well too, and that's probably a cleaner way in terms of how you would deliver and price out an opportunity. Then on the right side really is all the license skills. And so all the document types I show you here, these are all licensed under what we call a production skill. So these are fully trained skills developed by ABBYY and certified by ABBYY and available in the marketplace. So to use these skills, the customer needs to have a production skill license. What we did in 2.2 is we made it easier to quote. So previously we had license counters for each skill, which was getting a bit complicated. So now we have one license type. It's a production skill license, and you can quote one volume, and that volume can be consumed by any of these license skills that are available up there. The key thing is we're going to add additional license skills, production skills in future upcoming releases. So this list of license skills will continue to grow. So that's a change we made that I think significantly makes it much easier to quote and license Vantage. The other thing I'll note is that the ID skill does have its own license. It is priced based upon ID documents. So an ID document is front and back. So that would be considered one transaction. And that pricing is also listed in the sales enablement deck as well, that partners can take a look at. And that's pretty much it for the pricing and licensing. There are some additional changes we might make in the future to further streamline, but that is the latest changes in the 2.2 licensing and pricing. So in terms of next steps, before I hand it over to Maxine, I encourage you to check out ABBYY.com. There's a blog post up there. You can check out the latest release information if you go to the Vantage product area of the website. There's a release video, a couple of videos on different capabilities that I talked about. And also, I'd encourage you to check out the marketplace. If you haven't registered in the marketplace, I definitely would do that. One of the things you're going to hear from Maxine is all the assets that partners have been contributing. So this is an opportunity to promote your business, your capabilities, your skill sets to a growing list of individuals, people that are registered in the marketplace. And the final thing I would say is get trained and certified on Vantage. We've updated the advanced designer course, and we'll be updating the intro course as well as the intermediate course here in the next month, so sometime in August. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Maxine and let him talk a little bit more about the marketplace and what's going on with that, as well as being able to show you some of the new capabilities I just talked about around Vantage 2.2. So Maxine, the stage is yours.